Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I can confirm that the live stream and recording has commenced.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I call this meeting to order and declare quorum is present. Ms. Assistant Secretary Treasurer, would you please begin this hearing with the land recognition statement?
Yes, certainly. We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many who continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and the friendship of the Indigenous people. Through you, Mr. Chair, you may proceed with your introduction.
Thank you very much, Sarah. This time, I would ask our members if there are a disclosure of any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. I have no pecuniary interest. Sandra, I mean.
I have none.
And Brenda? Okay, she has none. Okay, were there any requests for a withdrawal or adjournment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has not.
Okay, then I'll start with the introduction of our staff. I'm the chair, John Clausen. Then we have Sandra Marsh, who would give us a wave, Sandra. And Brenda, would you give us a wave? The committee members. Then we have Sarah Leach, she's the Assistant Secretary Treasurer. And then hidden, we have Andrew Edwards from the Planning Department, Derek Young. He's from the engineering, he's the engineering manager. And we have the legislative coordinator for clerks is Jackie Miller. Okay, I'll start with the opening statement. This is an electronic hearing of the Committee of Adjustments for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. This public meeting has been called to satisfy requirements of the Planning Act and Council bylaws. Notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 60 meters, that's 200 feet, of the subject properties. In addition, a public notice sign has been posted on the lands and information has been provided on the town's Committee of Adjustment webpage. I note I saw signs on all the properties for today. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should an application be approved. You can voice objections to these conditions and that won't adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Pre-registered participants will remain in the waiting room until you are called to speak. Please be advised once you have finished speaking, you will be removed from the Zoom meeting room. If you are live streaming at home and you wish to submit a comment to be read during the public portion, you may do so by emailing clerks@pelham.ca. Again, emailing clerks@pelham.ca. Comments received following the public portion will not be considered. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will run their decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions will be determined by the committee following the public portion of this hearing. Copies of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and members of the public that have submitted comments. Notices of decisions can be obtained by request to the Secretary Treasurer. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the decision for minor variance and within 20 days of mailing of the decision for consent applications. We ask that all participants be mindful of background noise for the duration of the meeting. And if you are not speaking, it is recommended that you mute yourself. Committee members are asked to raise their hand if you would like to speak and vote. Applicants, agents, and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once a decision has been made on your application. Okay, so I gather we can start with the first application.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chair. I would ask Ms. Miller to please share the application for A8 2022P being 766 Church Street.
Thank you.
If you could please share the presentation, Ms. Miller.
Yeah, here it comes.
Thank you. Committee of Adjustment hearing September 7th, 2022 at 4 p.m. All Town of Pelham in-person Committee of Adjustment hearings have been canceled. Instead, the town is holding all Committee of Adjustment hearings electronically via Zoom. Please note that no decisions have been made prior to this public meeting. This presentation is based upon the Town of Pelham's Planning Department report and analysis. All comments received from the commenting agencies and the public have been forwarded in full to the Committee of Adjustment members for their consideration. Participants are reminded, please ensure your background is free from offensive or vulgar material. If inappropriate material is visible, you will be removed from the meeting. Vulgar or offensive language will not be tolerated. If inappropriate language is used, you will be removed from the meeting. Participants will remain in the waiting room until they are called to speak. Once your comments have been heard by the committee, your microphone will be muted. Once voting on the item has taken place, participants will be removed from the meeting completely. You may resume viewing the meeting via live stream. The Zoom chat is not monitored nor recommended to contact the Clerk's Department during the meeting. Please contact us via email at clerks@pelham.ca. This email address is being monitored during the meeting. Decorum. The Committee of Adjustment is a formal public hearing requiring decorum. This means that all comments are to be made through the chair. If you have pre-registered to speak, you will be given an opportunity to address the committee at the public portion of the meeting. If you are live streaming and wish to submit a comment live, please email clerks@pelham.ca. Please note that comments must be received during the public portion of the meeting, otherwise they will not be considered. Disrespectful comments will also not be tolerated. Please note that if decorum is lost, the meeting may be recessed and persons asked to leave. Public portion of the meeting. To allow for an efficient meeting, each member of the public will be given the opportunity to speak to the committee during the public portion of the meeting. Please note that after all members of the public have been given the opportunity to speak, the applicant or agent will have the opportunity to address the public comments and concerns at one time. Application for minor variance, file A8 2022P 766 Church Street. The subject land is located on the west side of Church Street, lying south of Foss Road and north of Sumbler Road, known locally as 766 Church Street. The minor variance application requests relief from Section 7.7A, maximum lot coverage, requesting 2.31% lot coverage for accessory structures, whereas a maximum of 1% coverage is permitted provided the lot coverage of all buildings does not exceed 10%. To date, the following comments have been received. The Building Department, a building permit is required. Public Works Department, no comments. Niagara Region, the PPS and regional official plans state that development is not permitted on lands containing archaeological resources or areas of archaeological potential. The site exhibits high potential for the discovery of archaeological sources since the subject lands are located within 300 meters from a watercourse. The subject property is impacted by the region's core natural heritage system. Growth plan policies require that a minimum 30-meter vegetation protection zone, as measured from the outside boundary of key natural heritage features, be established as natural self-sustaining vegetation. Growth plan policies allow for expansions to existing buildings and structures, provided that the use does not expand into key natural heritage features or their vegetation protection zone, unless there is no other alternative. The proposed addition extends into the VPZ. Staff require that the expansion be redesigned to maintain a 30-meter VPZ from the significant woodland and PSW. If this is not possible, staff require written justification that there is no alternative to the proposed addition. The subject property is impacted by the region's core natural heritage system. Growth plan policies require that a minimum 30-meter vegetation protection zone, as measured from the outside boundary of key natural heritage features, be established as natural self-sustaining vegetation. See requested conditions. The NPCA. NPCA mapping indicates the subject lands are impacted by provincially significant wetland and associated 30-meter buffer in conjunction with the Upper Coil Creek Wetland Complex. No new development and site alterations are permitted within a wetland or within a 30-meter buffer where development may have an impact on the natural features and functions of a wetland. Any encroachment into the 30-meter buffer will require works permit from the NPCA. The NPCA is supportive of this application, and all future proposals for development or site alterations will need to be circulated to the NPCA for review and approval. Minor variance tests. Test number 1 is the variance minor in nature. Yes, the increased coverage on the subject property and adjacent properties is minimal given the lot context. The increased coverage amounts to approximately 1.31%. No negative impacts are anticipated on the adjacent properties as adequate distance separates the nearest residential neighbor from the location of the addition to the accessory structure. Yard setbacks will be maintained. The accessory structure is set back from street view, and the scale and massing have been designed to retain its use and status as secondary/incremental to the primary residential building. The remaining lot area remains available to handle stormwater runoff, the existing septic system, and preserve a rear yard amenity area. Test number 2 is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land. Yes, the increase in lot coverage for the accessory building will permit design flexibility for an addition to an existing accessory structure while maintaining adequate rear yard amenity space. The proposed addition is compatible with the existing dwelling and the built form of the area. The requested variance is not anticipated to have negative impacts on the streetscape given the placement of the building and vegetation. Test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the requested increase in coverage allows for the logical and appropriate placement of the addition of an accessory structure. The intent of the maximum lot coverage provision of the bylaw is to maintain adequate space for landscaping, leisure, drainage, and to maintain neighborhood streetscapes and compatibility. The increase in lot coverage for accessory structures is not anticipated to have any negative impact on space for landscaping, leisure, and drainage. Test 4, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes, the portion of the lands where the addition is proposed is designated good general agriculture. The purpose of this designation is to protect and maintain land suitable for agricultural production and permit uses which support and are compatible with agriculture. Further, the proposed building addition is not located within a natural heritage feature, and subject to meeting the proposed conditions, the proposed variance would meet the intent of the official plan with regard to protecting the natural heritage features on the site. The requested lot coverage should have no impact on the agricultural viability of the surrounding area and will not compromise the objectives of the official plan with respect to land use compatibility, stormwater runoff, and private sewage system servicing capabilities. The proposal is generally consistent in built form, scale, and massing with existing development and the character of the area. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposal makes sufficient use of the land, does not result in the overbuilding of the property, will not alter the view, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or any neighboring properties, and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regard to land use incompatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff. In planning staff's opinion, the application is consistent with the PPS and conforms to provincial, regional, and local plans. Planning staff recommend the application number A8 2022B be approved subject to the following conditions. That the applicant submit a stage 1 to 2 archaeological assessment and any required subsequent archaeological assessments for at least the proposed development area on the property to the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture, and receive an acknowledgement letter from the Ministry, copied to the region, confirming that all archaeological resource concerns have met licensing and resource conservation requirements prior to the building permit application and the development proceeding. That a landscape plan be submitted with the required regional fee to the satisfaction of the Niagara region for a 30-meter vegetation protection zone plantings to satisfy the growth plan policy. The plan must include native trees, shrubs, and ground cover that complements the existing vegetation community. Clearance from the region is required on the proposed landscaping plan prior to the building permit being issued. That a written undertaking signed by the owner be submitted to the Niagara region whereby the owner agrees to implement and maintain the approved landscape plan required to satisfy the landscape plan condition prior to the issuance of building permit, and such undertaking be to the satisfaction of the region. And that the applicant apply for and receive a building permit approval for the proposed addition prior to construction. At the time of building permit application, the appropriate clearances from the required agencies above and conditions are required to be submitted with the building permit application. If you wish to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please contact the Secretary Treasurer in writing as soon as possible. Holly Wilford, Secretary Treasurer to the Committee of Adjustment, 20 Pelham Town Square, P.O. Box 400, Vaughan Hill, Ontario, 1LOS 1EO, H. Wilford at pelham.ca. His contact information is also available on the Town of Pelham's website.
Okay, thank you. Do we have the owners here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do. We have Ralph and Brittany Terpstra in the meeting with us.
Okay. I'd like to welcome the Terpstras. Okay, you could have the floor. You can make your presentation on this minor variance.
What do you need to know?
Well, you wrote a letter. I see what you're doing in that. One of the things I will be asking, where's your tile bed on this property?
It's in the southeast corner, which is nowhere near the shop.
It isn't near the shop at all?
It's not near.
Now, I see the shop is on fill and so's the house. They're both elevated on the property, correct?
No,
Or is that the natural terrain?
that's natural terrain.
Okay. And and I see you said it was built about 50, 60 years ago?
Yeah.
So the area you want to build it, has that been disturbed before?
No.
So it's all virgin territory then?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what else do you want to add. I see you have your trailer there. I gather that's what you want to put in the garage.
Yes, put the camper in there. See it.
I think you're going to need a higher door. And you will have to put a driveway to access that, correct?
Yes.
Because I didn't see it on the drawing. Make sure or maybe you did, but make sure that's clear. So that means you're going to have to make some kind of a work on the outside the building, correct?
Yeah, it's just an addition to the driveway that's there.
Okay. I don't know, Sandra or Brenda, if you have any comment. Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, I have no comments.
Okay. Brenda?
I have no comments.
Okay. Well, Sarah, I can say that we can finish the public portion of the meeting.
Yes.
We can get into the next section. I guess we've done both in one part.
Yes, through Mr. Chair, we do not have any pre-registered members of the public. I will just confirm that we've received no emails.
Okay.
Yes, through Mr. Chair, it is 4:25 p.m. and I can confirm we have received no emails. Therefore, you may close the public portion of the meeting and move to committee input.
Okay, I move that we, well, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. And I have no further questions unless Sandra or Brenda, if you have any questions. If you have none, could I have a recommendation on this application from either one of you, please?
From us, sorry, or?
No, from Sandra or,
Okay, that's what I thought.
or Brenda, yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought.
I can make the recommendation.
Thank you. Please.
Okay. File A8 22P 766 Church Street in the town of Pelham, an application for a minor variance for an increased lot coverage of 2.13% for accessory structures. The application is granted. The variance is minor in nature as no adverse impacts are anticipated. Ample areas remains for stormwater runoff, existing system, septic system, and rear yard amenity space. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposal is desirable for the land as it permits design flexibility for an addition to an existing structure. This application is granted without prejudice to any other applications in the town of Pelham. No objections were received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. The applicant is aware that all future development or site alterations may require an NPCA works permit, and the conditions are receive all necessary building permits. Prior to building permit to the satisfaction of the Niagara region, submit a stage 1 to archaeological assessment and receive an acknowledgement from the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture. Submit a landscape plan and required fee for a 30-meter vegetation protection zone plantings, including trees, shrubs, and ground cover. Sign a written undertaking agreeing to implement and maintain the approved landscape plan.
Sorry, through Mr. Chair, I just did want to confirm with the member that she intended to make the motion for 2.31%. I do believe that 2.13 was noted in her comments.
Sorry,
Oh, okay.
2.31%.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for that. Much appreciated. Do I have a seconder?
Through the chair,
No.
I second that.
Note that Sandra Marsh has seconded it. And I'll put it in favor. All those in favor of granting the minor variance, please raise your hand. And we have a majority, and it's passed. Thank you very much to Paris. Okay, Sarah. So that's we have finished with that application. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just ask Ms. Miller to please remove the applicants and bring in our applicants for A9, 118 Lameti Drive. Ms. Miller will share the presentation and she will be presenting that for you this evening.
Application for minor variance, file A9, 2022P, 118 Lameti Drive. The subject land is located on the north side of Moody Street, lying west of Lameti Drive, known locally as 118 Lameti Drive in the town of Pelham. The minor variance application requests relief from Section 6.35C, unenclosed porches, balconies, steps, and patios requiring a maximum 3.8 meter encroachment, whereas 1.5 meters is required. To date, the following comments have been received. Building division. A building permit is required for the covered rear patio, scaled construction drawings, and any applicable engineering are required for the permit submission. Public Works has no comment. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. Staff note that the covered deck does exist and the requested variances will correct an existing deficiency with zoning bylaw, and no complaints have been received regarding compatibility concerns related to the deck from adjacent residents. Minor variance test 1. Is the variance minor in nature? Yes, the increased encroachment of the covered porch is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent lands or substantially remove any of the rear yard amenity area of the lot. The orientation of the covered porch is considered moderate in scale and a logical extension of the outdoor amenity space. Further, it is unlikely that shadowing from the roof line will negatively project onto adjacent properties, and its presence would not encroach on neighboring parcels' private amenity space. Minor variance test 2. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of land? Yes. The structure is intended to provide shelter from outdoor elements and to enhance the outdoor amenity space. The requested variance is not anticipated to have negative impacts on the streetscape or adjacent properties. The scale of the proposed deck will not create a negative precedent since the amenity area will be maintained and will not affect the original intent of the building design. Minor variance test 3. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes. The property is zoned residential to exception 254 R2-254. The intention of the maximum encroachment requirement is to ensure that there is sufficient space and separation between buildings, as well as to ensure there is adequate amenity space. The increased encroachment is not anticipated to have a significant visual impact, and there remains adequate rear yard amenity space to service the dwelling. Minor variance test 4. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes. The surrounding neighborhood is generally characterized by 1 to 2 story single detached dwellings. The official plan states that development and redevelopment shall maintain and enhance the character and stability of existing and well-established residential neighborhoods with regards to scale and density. The subject land's use is within the permitted use of the EF-low density residential designation. Single detached dwellings are a permitted use in this designation. The official plan states that development and redevelopment shall maintain and enhance the character and stability of existing and well-established residential neighborhoods with regards to scale and density. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is not considered to have significant impacts within the context of the official plan policies and will recognize the existing covered porch that is compatible with and generally in keeping with low density residential character of the neighborhood. Planning staff are of the opinion the proposal makes efficient use of the land, will not result in overbuilding of the property, will not alter the view, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or any neighboring properties, and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regards to land use, incompatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff. In planning staff's opinion, the application is consistent with the PPS and conforms to provincial, regional, and local plans. Planning staff recommend that application number A9 2022P be approved, subject to the following conditions: that the applicant apply for and receive a building permit for the proposed covered patio. If you wish to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please contact the Secretary Treasurer in writing as soon as possible. Holly Wilford, Secretary Treasurer, Committee of Adjustment, 20 Pelham Town Square, P.O. Box 400, Fonthill, Ontario, LOS 1EO, hwilford@pelham.ca. This contact information can also be found at the Town of Pelham's website.
Okay, thank you. Do we have the applicants?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the applicants, Mrs. Kim Allard and Arnold Funk, in the meeting with us.
Okay, welcome. Okay, I'll give you the floor. Explain the situation with the porch. I understand that it's already there. So
you are correct, John. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Well, what can I say? I mean, if the planning department are going to forgive you, I guess we should all forgive you.
Thank you. Come have a coffee with us, all of you. We're very.
I think none of the neighbors have complained. I don't see anything in writing, so everything is in order. I have. If you have no comments, I have nothing to add. Sandra or Brenda, have you any comments? Sandra?
Through the chair, I just have a question. I understand the porch is already existing. Is there any intention to add on or make this any larger, or is that kind of the extent of it?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you.
It.
Okay. What about Brenda? Any comment?
No, I have no question. I have no questions. That's fine.
Sarah, I think we can close the public portion of the meeting. Just check to see if we had any emails on this application, please.
Yes, I can confirm that we've had no one pre-registered to speak on this application. And yes, it is 4:37 p.m. and we've received no email addresses, and therefore you may close the public portion of the meeting and move to committee input.
I gather just the only comment I would ask is how did this porch situation come to light? Was it part of the house when you bought it? It's all new subdivision area in there.
Yes, no, it was not a part. We kind of made a decision, I guess, that we would like to have something so we can enjoy the outside, right? We both. For not getting yeah, we should have confronted with the city of Pelham for sure, but it's always nice to get outside, right, and expand your space. So, yeah.
I just for your sake, I'm glad the planning department and the town took the approach they did. It's nice that they did that, and we should thank them for that.
Thank you very much. I invite you all to come out and have a coffee with us.
Okay, from my committee there, do I have a proposal? Yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
Through the chair, I'm prepared to make a motion that file A9 2022P 118 Lameti Drive in Pelham, that the application for minor variance of the unenclosed porch encroachment of 3.8 meters be granted for the following reasons. The variance is minor in nature, as there's no adverse impacts are anticipated. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the OP is maintained. The proposal is desirable for the land, as it will provide shelter from outdoor elements and enhance outdoor amenity space. The application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. No objections were received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners. and that the Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meet the Planning Act tests for minor variance. The conditions for this are that the applicants apply for and receive all necessary building permits.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Brenda. Yes, Sarah seconded. Okay, then I will call to vote that all in favor of granting the minor variance, raise hands. Granted. Application.
Thank you.
Granted. Enjoy the
Thank you,
outdoors.
everyone. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
And I like the coffee from. I'm just joking.
Come on down, Mr. Clausen. We can talk.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To the next application, Sarah.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. The next application is A11-2022P, being 1 Joyce Crescent. If you could please allow Ms. Miller just a moment to bring in the applicants and share her presentation.
Thank you very much.
Application for minor variance, file A11-2022P, 1 Joyce Crescent. The subject land is a corner lot located on the north side of Joyce Crescent and east side of Buckley Terrace, known locally as 1 Joyce Crescent. The minor variance application requests relief from amending bylaw number 3325, section R1, 184 FI, minimum exterior side yard setback, to permit a minimum exterior side yard of 1.06 meter, whereas the bylaw requires 3 meters, and section R1-184G, minimum rear, to permit a minimum rear yard of 2.74 meters, whereas the bylaw requires 7.5. To date, the following comments have been received. Building Division. A building permit is required for the proposed deck. Public Works has no comments. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. Minor variance test 1. Is the variance minor in nature? Yes. The variances are minor in nature as the decreased yard setbacks of the deck is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses or substantially remove any of the amenity space of the lot. Rather, the deck will enhance the pool that was recently constructed and improve functionality and access to the pool. Minor variance test 2. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of land? Yes. The variances will facilitate the construction of a rear deck. The deck is considered an appropriate development as it is a residential neighborhood, and the setback are not anticipated to have any visual effect on the streetscape or safety of the street. The proposal is consistent with the character of the area, which includes residential uses and accessory uses thereto. Minor variance test 3. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes. The intent of the exterior side yard setback is to maintain distance from the street to increase visibility for drivers, avoid overdevelopment of lots, and allow for enhanced landscaping along corner lots. The proposal maintains adequate visibility at the intersection, allows for landscaping along the street, and does not result in overdevelopment of the site. It is not anticipated that the reduction in the exterior side yard setback will result in any loss of driver or pedestrian visibility or decrease in landscaping. Further, the reduction in exterior side yard is proposed to the rear of the lot, set back adequately from the front lot line. A large daylighting triangle exists on the property, providing ample visibility for the northern intersection. The intent of the rear yard setback is to ensure separation distance between abutting residential uses and to ensure there remains adequate amenity area for the lot in question. The variances will not detract from the amenity area of the lot. Minor variance test 4. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the bylaw? Yes. The requested variances would not have a negative impact on the character of the surrounding area. The variances would allow for appropriate development of a dwelling on an existing lot. The official plan states that development and redevelopment shall maintain and enhance the character and stability of existing and well-established residential neighborhoods with regards to scale and density. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is not considered to have significant impacts within the context of the official plan policies. Planning staff are of the opinion the proposal makes efficient use of the land, will not result in overbuilding of the property, will not alter the view, sightlines, or personal enjoyment of the subject property or any neighboring properties, and should not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood with regards to land use, incompatibility, traffic, privacy, and stormwater runoff. In planning staff's opinion, the application is consistent with the PPS and conforms to provincial, regional, and local plans. Planning staff recommend that application number A11 2022P be approved, subject to the following conditions: that the applicant apply for and receive a building permit for the proposed deck. If you wish to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please contact the Secretary Treasurer in writing as soon as possible. Holly Wilford, Secretary Treasurer, Committee of Adjustment, 20 Pelham Town Square, P.O. Box 400, Fonthill, Ontario, LOS 1EO, H. Wilford at pelham.ca. This contact information can also be found at the Town of Pelham's website.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the applicants in the meeting with us, Mr. Patrick and Melissa Wigglesworth.
Thank you. Where the Mr. and Mrs. Wigglesworth? I haven't.
Oh no. What? I don't know.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry. What was the question? I was just trying to make sure you could hear us.
We are now the public portion of the meeting reviewing your application.
Correct.
And
okay.
This time, if you have anything to add to what was read out, or any other additional information you want to get, now's the time to do it.
Correct. We just wanted to let you know that we had the pool installed last year and we received a permit for it and everything was going to plan. We didn't understand the difference between an easement and a setback. And so our plan had included a deck that was going past the setback. So that's why we require the variance for it. The yard has a significant slope and without it, it's very difficult to access the pool. So our intention is to use the existing deck that comes off our kitchen and join it up to where the pool is at the top of the hill, which will really significantly make our yard so much more usable. At this point right now, we really can't go up and down that hill too well.
Okay, I understand. I've viewed it, and your whole backyard is all fenced in, so
Correct.
Nobody will see the deck or see the pool or see anything in the
Correct.
back. Correct. So I would at this time close the public portion of the meeting, see if there are any emails or anything has presented. Sarah has it.
Yes, certainly. We do not have any pre-registered members of the public for this application, and I can confirm that it is 4:49 p.m. and we've received no emails. Therefore, you may close the public portion and move to committee input.
Okay, thank you. My only question, Ms. Wiggleworth, when you put in the pool, did you have the plans for the deck at that time?
Yes, sir, I did.
Well, you would have had to get a building permit for the pool, so they would have
Yes.
told you at that time that you needed a minor variance, correct?
And they did not, sir. We submitted the plan for the pool, including the deck, and we did not receive that information, which is why we proceeded with the pool. We were not aware of that.
When did you find out you needed the minor variance? I mean, the pool went in.
Right. Then this year, we were waiting because a lot of companies were not able to do the deck last year. So we were on a waiting list. And this year, when we submitted the permit for the deck portion of the yard, that's when we found out about the difference between an easement and a setback.
Okay, I now understand the situation. I mean, building department wouldn't comment until they've been asked to comment. So fine, thank you.
Correct, sir. Yeah.
Any other comments from Sandra or Brenda?
I have
Okay.
no comments.
Could I have a motion regarding this application, please?
Through the chair, I make a motion on file A11/22P for 1 Joyce Crescent. Application is made for a minor variance of a minimum exterior side yard of 1.06 meters and a minimum rear yard of 2.74 meters. The application is granted. The variance is minor in nature as no adverse impacts are anticipated. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposal is desirable for the land as it facilitates the construction of a rear deck. This application is granted without prejudice to any other applications in the town of Pelham. No objections were received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. A condition is to apply for and receive building permits for the proposed deck.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder?
Through the chair, I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, so we had a seconder. All in favor of granting the minor variance, raise your hand, please. Brenda? Yeah. Yeah, oh, there, I see it. Okay. Cleared. We have unanimous decision there, Sarah. So the minor variance is granted. Thank you very much to the Wigglers for attending.
Thank you so much for all of your help.
Excellent, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, that does bring us to minutes for approval. We do have one set of minutes this evening being from August 2nd, 2022, where all sitting members were present.
Yep, and yeah, I didn't see any problems with it. Sarah or Sandra or Brenda, have you any comment? Go ahead, Sandra.
Nope, I've reviewed the minutes and they all look fine. I'm prepared to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay,
Aye.
passed. Okay, now do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting for today and wish everybody a good another month when we gather in October? Do I have a mover for that?
I can move
Go ahead,
adjournment
Brenda.
of the meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, I should have you seconded, Brenda. Sandra. Okay, all in favor, aye. Okay,
Aye.
Sarah.
Excellent,
We
thank
got the
you. It
minutes
is
approved.
perfect.
And
It's
we got the-
4:54 p.m. and the meeting is now adjourned.
Okay, thank you and have a good month.
Thank you. Good night.